Well, thank you. It's something I've been looking at for quite a while. Just to share a couple of statistics. You know, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office is 86% white. It leaves about 14% that's of other color. Okay. Of all the bureaus in the selection for the last 3 years, 33 African Americans and 6 Hispanics have been selected to the Monroe County Sheriff's Department, an organization of almost 1,000 people. Of just the police bureau, 3 African Americans were selected and no Hispanics, making up 6%. The population of Monroe County is about 30% minority. Things that I would look to do structurally is use a building block approach in recruitment. There's a large gap between a young man that's of color leaving high school and 21 years old when they become a police officer. We can engage these people earlier, engage them when they're younger, get them interested in a career in law enforcement. Then use a building a block approach both through the Explorers, special police programs, the jail, which you can hire younger. There's many opportunities, but you want to use that building block approach and keep them engaged during that gap between leaving high school and getting your college education. If you're a minority in this community, you're highly educated, you're highly sought out by many people. How do we get them engaged and get an interest in becoming law enforcement officers in the Sheriff's Department is one of the things we got to look at. We can do all the recruitment, but I ask you to look at the numbers in the Sheriff's Department. This was a priority in the strategic plan for 2015. It's in the strategic plan, and those numbers just don't represent any measurable success in recruiting and attaining, let alone promoting. I challenge you to look for the command staff of the Sheriff's Department and find minorities represented or females represented in the command staff.
Well, I'd like to explain a little bit because we all pull from the same pool of people when it comes to minority recruitment in this community. We work with all the local law enforcement agencies, and everyone looks to try to be diverse and have a workforce that's representative of the community that we serve. We've been very aggressive in minority recruitment and hiring. We've been working with the REOC, we have a cadet program that works out of Edison Tech. We've been doing this for probably 5 years now. And then a trainee program, just as what Mr. Baxter says, we've been already doing it to encourage and keep people in the system so they work towards full employment with the Sheriff's Office. We also pay them as trainees in the college to be able to work and stay with the program and be able to become a full-fledged member of the Sheriff's Office. In the last 16 years that I've been sheriff, I've hired every single minority candidate that's made themselves eligible in the system. We have a problem with civil service. We've been trying to work with the state to ensure that that gets changed so we have a better access of being able to get good quality minorities hires in the organization. But every one of the law enforcement agencies in this community are experiencing the exact same problem that we are. We at the Sheriff's Office have been working very aggressively in this field. My thesis in the Naval Postgraduate School for my master's was enhancing situational awareness when dealing with critical incidents involving schools and other soft targets. So I brought some of that training and experience back to the Sheriff's Office, and we've been teaching an active shooter program to all of the local businesses, schools, and even trained each of the local PDs on active shooter tactics and being able to how to address them effectively. We are constantly worried about having security at major events. We've done the security for the previous PGA championships and used some of the philosophies from my thesis to be able to make sure that crowd safety is something that's priority one when it comes to our local events and ensuring that people are safe when they are out and experience recreational activities.
Thank you. Spent 19 years on our city SWAT team. 19 years of going to hundreds of high-risk situations, planning for the worst-case scenarios, dignitaries coming in town. You can't prevent every scenario like lost faces from occurring. But here's what you can do. You can take pieces of information that we all look at, and we've been doing it for the last few days, and piecing that information together and going, oh, in hindsight, we could have seen it if we looked a little harder. There was different pieces of information that came to knowledge during the investigation, but different people were holding that information. We call this risk assessment. We need to do a better job in our area of risk assessment. If probation, the police department, mental health, and some other entity like a wife or a husband has information and those pieces aren't being put together until after a horrific incident, it's way too late. There's a process called risk assessment that we need to work on more intensely in this community. So everybody shares that information, protects the privacy of the person, but shares that information. See if we can prevent a few of these. Now you can't prevent everyone. So the other side of that is exactly what I've been doing for years and years, taking my experience in SWAT and sharing that with other people. I trained the entire town of Greece when I was a chief out there. Every civilian went through an active shooter program. Even the librarians learned how to run, hide, and fight. But we did it. We just didn't PowerPoint it. We didn't just talk about it. We did it with them. The other side of that is reaction. If you think about it, how do you reduce life? When you got multiple people with gunshot victims, get them to EMS as quick as possible. So there's another reason why I've been training for years with our local fire departments. I was out last night training with the local fire department, teaching them our formations, teaching them our tactics so we can get them as quick as possible to triage people that have gunshot victims. We learned from Virginia Tech that every gunshot victim that got the EMS within the first hour survived. We got to train multi-jurisdictional across the board.
Well, as I said earlier in my opening, I'm not one that goes out in front and is trying to highlight everything I'm doing. I believe in highlighting the qualities and the staff that we have and what they bring to the table. So I look to continuing that leadership style as we go forward. I think that it's the most effective way to get the best out of people by having them be showcased and being able to take their talents and encourage others by looking at the quality of the people we have in the organization. As we go forward, I'm very proud of the men and women of the Sheriff's Office, how they work, how they interact with the community, and I think that we will work collaboratively with all our agencies out there to make sure that we're the most effective in being able to address everything from the opioid issue to senior safety. And that's why we're accredited. As I said, we've got the accreditation both nationally and statewide because of the fact that we do understand the community, we do work closely with the community, we don't go out and showboat, we make sure that the people are taken care of and they get the best service possible. So I'm very proud of the organization, where we are, and I will promise to continue with the reputation that we have in the Sheriff's Office as we go forward.
Two-part answer. So our differences, I believe, is diversity and leadership. As we know, the sheriff came up through the sheriff's ranks, as spoke of his introduction, has been with the sheriff's department the whole time of his career, and that's an honorable thing. I've had the experience of being in the Army for 22 years. I've had the experience of working in the Rochester Police Department, being the assistant to 3 different chiefs in a 1,000-person organization in the Rochester Police Department. I've had the diversity of taking over a defunct, out-of-control police department and learning lessons as you try and correct that. I've had the diversity of running a nonprofit and finding out how to run a system or build systems outside of government taxpayers to see if we can get things done for other people. So that's diversity. That's one of the things that is different. What I do different is first thing I always do and always talk about is taking care of the troops. You got to be serious about taking care of the troops. You got to be in the trenches with the troops once in a while. You got to get in the jail cells with it. You got to walk the lines with the officers. You got to go out on domestics at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's what I would do different. You would see me at the 4 corners of Penfield. You'd see me walking on Genesee Street, and you'll see me inside the jail walking. That'll be one of the things you'll see different. The other thing is, I mentioned already, I am darn right serious about taking on the opioid crisis. I do not want to sit back another few years and look at hundreds of our citizens dying when I'm the lead law enforcement officer. So that's what I would do different.